So welcome everyone. This is our joint health and balance class. So appreciate everyone joining us this Tuesday morning. So we'll get started today with some stretches on the chair. I do want to make sure that we get some floor stretches. I know last week we didn't get to them. So we'll probably spend about half the time that we did last time on the chair. And then we'll go back and forth between some standing exercises and then also some balance exercises as well. So the last maybe 10-15 minutes we'll leave for the floor. Okay. So again, as always, if you have a request of a joint that you want to stretch out a little bit more, let me know. For instance, yesterday I pushed myself a little bit too much on my run, and I think I like just inflamed my hip a little bit more. So ideally for me, I would want to like work on that hip a little bit more. But again, I could do that whenever. But if you folks have something that recently popped off, just let me know and we'll spend some time there. Okay. So, as always, I like to track on my fitness tracker. I have this see how many calories I burn or how active I am throughout the week. And I just put this under the yoga setting. So, let's go ahead and begin. So, we're just going to start lightly, just looking left to right. Morning, Jen. Looking left to right. Hi. And appreciate everyone that's participated on the baseline for our Monday class. Some good numbers up and down. And your push-ups number were pretty impressive. We'll work on getting closer to 30 next time. Again, just trying to get as much range of motion as we can. So we want to prioritize range of motion over speed. So we don't want to do these too fast. We just want to make sure that we're stretching that muscle and tendon and joint as much as we can. All right, let's do some neck circles. Rich. Morning, Olivia. Again, just slow, gentle stretch. Is anyone sore from yesterday? Okay. Let's go ahead and sit in our left hand and bring our right elbow down. So holding onto our left side of our head. Keeping that shoulder fixed. Relax. Let's go ahead and switch. So I sit on that right hand. Bring that elbow here. Very good. All right. Now we're gonna do slightly different. So I'm gonna sit near the front of my chair. So I don't want the front edge of the chair to get in my way. So just here, just hand to opposite knee or ankle, depending how far you could reach. So again, that's just gently stretching out our back. It's more of a good morning stretch. And if your arms get tired, you could just set them down on the way down. Very good. Okay. Continue with our back. For now, we're gonna go ahead and try to bring our shoulder to that opposite knee. Okay, so just kind of come in here, reset. Well, that feels good. Right about my shoulder blade. Well, my left side has more range of motion than my right. Yeah, feel a better stretch on my left side. One more on each side. Very good. All right, let's go ahead and get on our feet, split up this stretching session a little bit. So, easy one where we're gonna stand here, tandem stance or Romberg stance, just feet close together. All right, if you're barefoot, great. You know, you're able to just use the support of your feet. Um, and if you're wearing shoes, hopefully the shoes are pretty even around, the whole base. If you're wearing older shoes that you walk around in, um, that might influence your balance a little bit. So I'm going to check out your shoes here and there. All right, let's look left to right. Continue with the next stretch here, but also throwing off your equilibrium a little bit. Up and down. Okay, now we're here. Let's close your eyes. Remember, if you feel out of place, so like you're gonna tip over, just open your eyes and separate your stance. Make your base a little bit wider. Okay, open your eyes. Very good. All right, we're gonna continue with some balance work. So I do want to get more balance today than the stretching. So let's go ahead and just do some slow high knee marches. So to make these easier, you could just speed up the rate that your legs come up and down. But the slower you do it, the more challenging it would be because we are on that one foot alone a little bit longer. Again, side angle, just dragging that knee up. And the more flexible you become, the higher you can drive that knee as well. Very good. Let's go ahead and do some standing Jane Fondas. We did these yesterday. So some standing hip abductions. Feel this yesterday from the curtsy lunges. A little bit. Let's do two more. We'll switch. Very good. All right. Let's go ahead and walk the tightrope. So find the longest stretch in your room. Just one foot in front of the other. Walking the tightrope. All right, once you reach the end of your line, then come back. Very good. Okay, next we're gonna go ahead and work on our calves and also a little bit less imbalance on our toes. So just walking the tightrope, but just on our forefoot, okay? Just on your tippy toes. Like if you're sneaking out of your room at midnight to grab some cookies from the refrigerator and some milk, a slice of pie, and that. Can't remember the last time I did that, but sounds fun. Reverse. Very good. Okay. Since we are standing, I'll just take advantage that we are on our feet. So the chair, you could go ahead and grab it. We're gonna do some leg swings over the backrest of the chair or the front of the chair. So what I'm gonna do is hold on to my shelf here. I just have a shelf over here, and I want to go. I have the chair right next to me, and I want to swing my leg over and then back. So again, if this is too high, you could use the height of the seat area, okay? So it's gonna go over and back, and we want to do about 6 of each. And if you really want to work on your balance, you could even try doing it without holding onto the shelf. But again, it's just a safety measure there. We're prioritizing the actual stretch here of the joint over the balance, but you could do both if you're comfortable. Okay, and then I'm gonna switch and do my other side of the hip. Very good. All right, so we're gonna do a little bit of glute work. So right now, if you could place your chair or have a object that's not gonna move, what I want to do is some standing glute kicks or donkey kicks. So usually we'll do those on the floor where we're reaching towards the ceiling. So we're just gonna lean here and then just raise your leg here. And you want to raise it high enough that you feel your glute activating, okay? Because if we're just here, you might not feel that activation. So let's go up and back down. Working on that hip joint as well. Getting a nice stretch through that front part of your thigh while also strengthening your glute and your hamstring. So about 3 more. And switch. We'll do about 8 on each leg. 4, 5, 6, 7. Very good. There's a lot of things you could use with your chair. So another drill that I like for my hip adduction and abduction would be doing some leg swings. So pretty much I would just have my chair here, I'm leaning on it, and I'm just gonna swing my leg in, out. So this is more of a stretch. It's a more of a dynamic stretch. If you just want to swing. And it doesn't have to be fast or aggressive. You just want to get that range of motion going. So, all right, let's switch legs. Very good. All right, now I'm gonna be standing here next to it, and I'm just using it as a post and just kick back and forth. So don't worry too much of how high your foot comes. What matters more is the motion that's happening in this area. Okay, and then I'm gonna try the other side. Very good. Let's have a seat, a little bit of rest on our chair, grab some water. About 20 minutes into the class. Don't forget your water. Ooh. All right. Let's go ahead and go with some snow angels. Go ahead and bring that right arm over and just stretch it, stretching that shoulder a little bit, the back side of it. What are we, 10 days from Halloween now? October's flying by. Switch. Sure you're breathing comfortably. Okay, let's do our trunk rotation by holding onto the chair. So just holding onto the base of the chair on my right side. I want to not just turn, but use the chair by pulling my arms into gentle rotation. Stretch a little bit more. Now that you got that in, stretch a little bit more. All right, relax. To the left side. Pull. Good. All right. Give me 1 second. A little warm in here. All right, we're gonna go with our arms. So just palms facing the camera and then just tapping your opposite shoulder. Is anyone dealing with any injuries right now or might have pulled something or hurt themselves? That's giving you some limitations for the time being. Everyone's healthy, not just shy. So right here. Okay, now we're gonna rotate our palms backwards, facing behind us, and then bring them down. So this is more for your triceps. Well, they're supposed to cool off a little bit more. I think we're approaching the end of summer. I know we're officially in fall, but pretty warm yesterday. Okay, we're gonna do our Poliquin lateral raises. So this is a movement for our biceps, our shoulder, and our back. So we're gonna just make a fist, bring those fists to your shoulders, rotate those elbows up and extend them out. Come back here, here. That rotation of the elbows coming up kind of stretches the back in a way like no other stretch. If you have any swim occasionally. Yeah. Here we're gonna do a shoulder press. So this is a narrow shoulder press. So usually we go wider. This one we're gonna stay narrow. So elbows right here, and then just bring them straight up. Then elbows as low as you can. So when we do some narrow shoulder presses, it's usually going to target the inside part of your shoulders. Doesn't demand the outside head of the delt. So again, the delt is the circular area around your shoulders. This is just a narrow part. Okay, relax here. Now let's go ahead and do our wide shoulder presses. So now we come out this way. And you could feel your back activating a little bit more on these. So when you're choosing your workouts, what I like to do is if I have very little time, I like to do the exercises or the lifts that kind of require and activate multiple muscle groups at once. So for instance, this requires more from your back and your shoulders, while the narrow ones for just your shoulders. Um, so yeah, so just consider that when you're thinking of workouts, you want to think about what muscles are being activated because then you're not just working out one muscle group, you're working out multiple at the same time. Very good. All right, let's do our door openers. It's here, so elbow at your side, and then just rotate that shoulder or that forearm in and out. Good switch. The elbow here. Very good. Let's go ahead and do our sitting hip opener. So since we're sitting, we should be able to get a little bit more range of motion. So just bring your right leg out and instead of hold there, just apply a little bit of pressure there. Try to maybe take a few more inches off to the side. Typically could increase your range of motion when you're relaxed or breathing well. Let's switch. On that left side now. Okay, let's go with our piriformis stretch. So right ankle on that left knee. Gentle push down on that knee or just rest your forearm on that. A little bit more tension. Stretch. Switch. Okay, just grab that knee for that stretch on the side. Switch. Left ankle on that right knee. So yeah, with our next session not being until next Monday, so 5, 6 days away. Um, yeah, like I said, there's plenty of videos on YouTube. You could see or follow along the video recordings or just go to the YouTube channel and there's tons of workouts there. Yeah, just make sure you stay active the rest of the week. Gentle push down that left side. Yep. A good stretch. Alrighty. Very good. Okay, we only have a few more remaining on the chair. Okay, and then we'll transition to the standing balance and then the floor. Okay, so we have been practicing our chair squats. So that's going to be our next one. So chair squats, no hands extended or elevated, but just as like a warm up, let's just do 5 of the regular ones. So let's just stand up, don't use your hands, come back, make sure your chair isn't going to slip away behind you. Let's just do 5 of these chair squats. There's my 5. Now I'm gonna work on my single leg elevated or extended squat. So I'm gonna attempt for elevated. So I'm gonna go 8 on one leg and 8 on the other. If we're just working on our regular chair squats on the second round, I want you to do 15. Okay. So if you're doing single, do 8 and 8. Ready and go. So what I find that helps, it's if I stab my heel into the floor, I feel like I have a little bit more control. All right, Jen. Yep, and you can always bring that leg a little bit closer to you. So remember, elevated is the hardest, fully extended is the next challenging, and the closer you bring that heel to you, you're still putting most of your weight on that one leg. There you go. Good. Challenge yourself, yeah. Yeah. After you've done your 8 or halfway through, just take a little bit of a breather. Like I said, elevated is the hardest, extended is the most on the next one over, and then you could just make it a little bit easier by bringing your heel closer to you. Okay. This leg is more solid, my right leg. It changes week to week. Sometimes it's which is funny because my right hip was what was bothering me yesterday. So I would think this leg would be a little bit more fatigued. All right. 6. 8. Let's get it, Jan. There you go. Good. All right. We did those. Let's go ahead and transition. We could come back to the chair if we have time at the end, but I do want to get some floor stretches. But let's go ahead and finish off with our standing ones. So, yeah, need some water. I had some coffee earlier. I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I had some earlier, and yeah, kind of makes my mouth all dry. So we're gonna line up our right foot in front of our left. Just stand here for about 15, 20 seconds. Okay, then looking left to right. Whoa, oh, it took one turn and I'm already tipping over. Up and down. This is where we close our eyes. And again, separate your feet, open your eyes if you don't feel safe. Open your eyes. Okay. And I'm gonna ask you to elevate that hind foot a little bit off the ground. So it doesn't have to be up here. It could just be, as long as it's off the ground, it could be by a hairline. It could be half an inch, an inch. I just want you to be on one foot, like a flamingo. This one. backs. Just gonna loosen up a little bit. Arches, same one, arches, get irritated with that. It's hit or miss, depends on what I'm wearing the day before sometimes. All right, so we get right foot in front of our left. Now let's go left foot in front of our right. Let's look left to right. Up and down. Close your eyes. Remember, be safe. Open them, separate your feet if you don't feel safe. Oh, more wobbling on this stance. Open your eyes. Remember, now we're bringing that hind foot off the ground, so just elevate it a little bit. Very good. All right, just relax. Need a little bit of support on my feet, so I'm just gonna put my yoga mat here. So this one's different. We haven't done this one in a while. Usually we do this one on our lower body strengthening day, but it does have a balance component to it. So we're gonna do our round the clock one-legged squats. Okay, so for this one, you could always have a chair nearby for balance, but it might get in the way, to be honest. So we're gonna be on one foot, and we're pretty much gonna hit each number on the dial, right? So we're gonna go 12 o'clock, 1, 2, 3. You see how this leg is elevated, 4, and this leg slightly goes down, 5. So around the clock squats, 6, 7, and then this is where it gets tricky here because now you're coming like that's a curtsy lunge pretty much. 9, 11, and 12. All right. And then just take a little bit of a break because your arches could get a little bit tired from just all that added pressure. We'll reset, and now we're going to go counterclockwise with our left leg. Ready? So 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. We're gonna do a little bit of leg work, so we're just gonna do heel to toe rocks. So we're just here, just gonna go toes, heels, just rocking back and forth. All right, let's do some of our standing stretches before we transition to the floor. And just left, the right trunk rotations right here. Okay, let's do our ab circles. So inject the hip, lean, lean. Okay, big hula hoops. So this big hip circles, exaggerate the motion. Bring the hips out as wide as you can. Switch. Okay, and then we're gonna do our hamstring stretch. So slide your hands down your legs, grab your ankles, and then just bring your glutes down and up. Extend. Very good. All right, let's set up our yoga mats. We're gonna finish off on the floor. So I'll give you a minute or two. You need to take a little bathroom break. Go ahead and do that. But we're gonna finish off on the floor. So let's set up that yoga mat. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and continue before we conclude our session. Be on the floor. We're just gonna start belly down. Okay. We're belly down, just resting on our elbows. Just getting a gentle stretch on our lower back. Right here. Ooh. Excuse me. Yeah, just a gentle stretch. Let's go ahead and place our hands where our elbows are at, and then give me a cobra stretch here. So just push. If this is painful or doesn't feel right, then just you can drop back down to your elbows. You got the cat right on the camera, Jim. Oh, okay. And from here, on one solid move, I want you to bring your glutes to your heels. Okay, so glutes to your heels. Keep your hands where they are. Reset. Okay, so elbows are here. We're gonna arch up. You'll do the cat cow. Okay, so pretty much little cues to look for: wrists wrapped below your shoulders, knees wrapped below your hips. So arch up. Exhale, arch down. And the whole time you want to have your eyes looking down. Okay, now I want you to shift your hands off to the right side. Your knees don't move, but your hands are shifting off the mat. Okay, and from there, I want you to arch up and bring your glutes to your heels. Should feel a nice stretch on your left hand side. Just gonna hold it there for about 20 seconds. Reset. Shuffle on over to our left hand side. We're here. Arch up. Bring your glutes back. And reset. Go back. Okay, from here, we're just gonna remain on our knees. So just come on your knees here. What I want you to do is just bring your leg, your right leg out to the side. So we're going from this position to right leg out, toes are pointing towards the sky. What I want you to do is just lean forward and then lean back. You could use your hands too for support. And then come back up. So you should feel this muscle on this inner thigh, lengthening and shortening. And again, it's gentle. So if you want to hold that position, feel like you're getting more of a stretch by holding it, go ahead and do that. But the benefit of, going back and forth is that the muscle does get to lengthen and shorten. Okay, now that we've done that, let's rotate our torso towards our foot that's stretched out. And again, so lean towards it and then come back. Let's do about two more of those. Very good. All right, I'm gonna switch. So I'm just gonna shift on over to this side. Extend my leg out. And again, lean forward. Come up. Very good. Turn towards your leg that's extended and repeat action. Very good. Okay, we're almost there. Right. So just gonna try a couple more stretches before we conclude. So we're gonna get on our back. And we're gonna do our knee drop. So you can get in this sit-up position. Okay. Sit-up position, arms are extended, and you're just gonna drop your knees to your left. Your torso doesn't rotate, and then knees to your right. All right, this one's a little bit more advanced, but if you can, we'll try a few. You're just gonna elevate your heels off the ground. So if you're able to do that, great. If not, just continue the ones we were doing and then continue with the knee drops. Okay, so you just kind of cross your ankles and then just drop. Very good. All right, we're gonna do our book openers and we'll conclude with those. So book openers, you're gonna be laying on your side Your arm is extended. You're gonna tuck in your knees, stack your ankles, stack your knee, hip over hip, hand on hand, and then just follow with your eyes the hand as far back as you can. You might be able to make it to the floor behind you, and then just reset. And repeat. Let's switch sides. We'll just switch on the side that you're laying on. Here. Stop your hands and go back. I'm doing 8 of these. All right. Very good. All right, everyone. That should conclude it for today's session. Hopefully everyone's feeling a little bit more relaxed and stretched. How are we doing? Oof.
Happy birthday, Julio.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you. Try not to party too hard. So I'll see you folks on Monday. But like I mentioned, the YouTube channel links on the front page if you guys wish to.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Julio.
Thank you, Olivia and Teresa.
And feliz cumpleaños.
Gracias. Yeah, it's on Saturday, so we'll have a few more days, but yeah, I feel like it's there. So everyone have a good rest of the week, and I'll see you on Monday. So bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
folks.